wasn't it P.T. Barnum who said, I don't care what they say about me as long as they spell my name right.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I felt that way over the past year or so with some of the backlash from the whole cult scene I encountered. Yeah, just as long as you spell my name right, I'm good to go.
The backlash of speaking your truth.
Speaking my truth and calling people out on things that need to be said and be acknowledged. It's really funny. It's like I wrote this book on cults and just the cult landscape of the world that we're living in. And I've had a number of people come forward over the last several months since I published it and say that, I've thought very similar things about how really, for example, both sides of political debates or medical debates are really, they're both cults. It's not that one is a cult and the other is the good guys. They're both cults. And the whole structure that we're in is a kind of cult structure. And so people will, comment along these lines and they say, but I didn't even know how to talk about it.
Right, almost like they didn't know how to define it up until language became available.
Right, it's like one of the things I feel like I've been doing in writing about this and putting out other related, articles and videos is just giving it languaging it into discussability so that people can even talk about it. Otherwise, it's been like this hidden in plain sight phenomenon that you can see it, but you don't know what you're seeing, or you don't know how to express what you're seeing. It's sort of like, those stories of Native Americans not even seeing the ships or whatever, or maybe they did, but they didn't know what they were seeing, and so they kind of didn't see them. And I feel like that's the way the cult structure is in our world. It's just everywhere once you can see it. But until you can see it and then, give it some language so that you can consciously, rationally acknowledge it, it's almost like a mirage or a fantasy that you're having. Like, am I really seeing what I'm seeing with the with the news or the political scene or any of it?
Yeah. And even before that, before you realize any of that or wake up to it, I mean, it's just life, because the way we go through life is, choices. What do you want to be when you grow up? What do you want to? What classes do you want to take? What do you want to study? Where do you want to go to school? What hobbies do you want? I mean, like, yes, it's good to discover, what you enjoy, but there's a lot of pressure, I think, just in general in society to look around you and decide what to join and what side to take. And just as you go along, before you realize you're an adult and you're Republican and you go to church and wear a tie and I don't know.
I saw this trend. You talk about the Republican thing. I think that so many in our kind of liberal education system, so many kids are kind of educated at a younger age to be liberal,
Mm-hmm.
And this is not just this generation. This was back in my generation. This was in the '60s generation, and then part of the social structure, the cult structure of the world and of the world society, is to slowly take them from their little naive, radical, liberal selves and take away their dreams and desires, which were not realistic to begin with and then were part of the cult structure, but to kind of shave them down to size like a little soap doll until when they're in their 40s, let's say, they become little small-minded Republicans, basically, and so, it's that's your life trajectory. Those are your choices. That's the bipartisan blue-red, red-blue structure of the world. What a farce.
Well, that's certainly the biggest example of the division in our culture at an outward, can't ignore it level.
Yeah, it's just really wild. I mean,
It is.
I see that, so clearly now. I've been fascinated for a long time with non dualistic structures. I almost wanted to say non-binary, but I'm like, better not use that. But it's, somewhat similar thought, just not applied in the same way. It's this idea that we don't live really in a black and white world, even though that we're conditioned increasingly to think that we are, and we're divided into, quote unquote, good and evil camps, or right and wrong camps, and all of that, just total crap. But the idea that I've had for the longest time is that really there is a massive and malleable space between those artificial, rigid bookends that invites a truer expression of who people are. It's like this huge gray space in the middle where people don't have to, when they get into that and they realize they can be there, they don't have to adhere to the bookends.
Right.
Whatever that is. And I understand that part of that is what fuels the gender identity revolution that we're experiencing. And to that extent, I can understand that I have issues with a lot of the way it's been brought about and socially engineered and repercussions for young children. And all of that, yes, definitely. But I can understand that people want, in their hearts, they want freedom. They want freedom of choice. I was watching a little snippet from a Krishnamurti video earlier today. And not that I'm a huge fan. It just popped up on my radar and I was watching it. And he was like, don't foist your God on me. Don't put your choices, don't put your science on me. I don't believe in any of that.
Yeah.
I don't have to, and you can't make me. That's kind of the attitude that he was bringing forward.
I mean, well, I love that, but that's because I think the same way. But there are plenty of people who think it's rightfully their place to share their opinions and reasons for why they should share how they feel. But it's important.
Yeah, it makes me
It's
think of
important
that
for people to
song.
think like them.
Yeah.
I mean, beliefs, boy, beliefs are powerful brainwashers.
They are. I know you have a lot of people, for a long time who have been looking at beliefs as almost like part of this cult structure that I've been describing. And beliefs are this way of steering the mind into little slotted categories.
Well, we're natural categorizers.
Mm-hmm.
It helps us understand things, or think that we understand things.
And it's kind of scary to give up having beliefs and just to observe.
Right.
I think when you begin to observe, it's like that movie We Live, when you put on the glasses and you can see it.
Yeah.
You can see what's going on, that everyone in your public offices and your teachers, they're actually these like weird skeletal aliens.
Yeah.
That's really a strange
weird.
moment, so you can feel really isolated and really freaked out when you give up the beliefs. And I'm not saying that it's possible to fully give up beliefs. Even the idea that you can do that is to some extent a belief. But I like to qualify, like a blind belief versus a belief that you're testing. You're actually trying to see if it has substance, if it works, if it's pragmatic. Like,
Sure.
I was having that interview not long ago with this European guy. I forget his name. I think it was Luke. It was such a strange interview. He was, coming at me, and this interview ended up not even getting published. It's ridiculous. But he kept coming at me, trying to make it seem as if I was somehow not being very circumspect or intelligent in my insistence that nothing was verifiable, that nothing was factual, that there was no truth, and you know, I ended up saying, look, I'm just engaging in rigorous philosophical skepticism where I don't believe anything necessarily.
Right.
It's like, show me the proof, show me the money, show me that there's reality to this.
Well, and then,
Yeah,
and now
but what I wanted to say to finish that thought is that, you know, but he was like coming at me from the other side of the cult, like you know, there is no V, you know, he was like that kind of mentality and really trying to make it seem like I was not really looking at the facts, even though I alleged that there are no facts. And I'm like, look, you're not being a skeptic, even though your channel is titled with that word in it. You're being a selective skeptic. You're just choosing what you're believing in, and that's no different from religion.
Well, and that's how beliefs are sneaky, because there's plenty of, even if we think we like look at them head on and assess them and think about them, and you know, there's definitely beliefs within us that we aren't even fully aware of, that we act unconsciously on.
I couldn't agree more. It's almost like you have to detox all these beliefs that you just get through osmosis before you know you've taken them on.
Mm-hmm.
That's a very shamanic concept, like in the works of Castaneda. You know, he talks about how so much of this cultural indoctrination happens before you're even at the language stage.
Right.
And that stuff is so down in you that you don't know it's there, and yet it's running your programming. And I mean, like literally a kind of programming.
Really, really unconsciously brained, a lot of those things.
Yeah.
Yeah, so unless you consciously are striving to like uncover, you know, some of that programming,
Right.
you know, which, I mean, a lot of people, you know, aren't. They don't even
But they're not aware of it.
think about it.
And a lot of times, if you show people that programming exists, they will reject your message. I mean, they're like, don't confuse me with the facts. I say facts in quotes, perhaps, but you know, people just don't want to hear it. And I can understand, because it completely is uncomfortable to be confronted with one's own, well, complicity to potentially false narratives.
Yeah, but also without, you know, belief system kind of structure, and people lose, like, or some people lose a certain stability or groundedness in how they conduct themselves and how their lives are set up and unfolding and what is important to them. I mean, it can definitely create a radical crisis, personal crisis, you know, to dig all that up.
Got that right. I've run into that so much with people in this book, you know. I mean, I've certainly been attacked and all of that, but I don't mind that so much, because I feel like when people are attacking you, there's a part of them that actually wants to understand what you're saying, but they're processing it through some kind of lens of fear or this other type of dysfunction. But when people just ignore you, those are the really sad cases, because they're gone, baby, gone.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's true. I mean, people get button pushed, and either, you know, they're at a place where they're kind of open to be challenged and maybe see where that goes, even if it stirs them up, you know, or they turn and run to the hills.
Run to
their comfort zone.
Run for your life. It's true. I don't know. I will say this about this subject, and maybe we can switch gears here and do something else, but I feel like more people are starting to have this conversation, and more people are understanding that, you know, we are in some kind of like programmed construct of consciousness. I called it a dreamscape, but in any case, it's something that is designed to on the one hand limit your thinking and your options, and on the other hand, through that limitation, in a kind of catalyzing action, push you to jump outside of those boundaries and to like exit your prison through your own choice. It's like
Yes.
Natalie Portman and V for Vendetta, when she's in prison and she's day after day after day after day after day, and then finally she realizes that the door is not locked and that the guard outside is a mannequin.
Yeah, right.
And she just walks out.
Yeah. 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 That's surreal.
It's beautifully poetic.
Yeah.
Talk about some of the
Yeah.
Serge Gainsbourg and Boris Vian stuff.
Like
That's
in your
worthy.
own prison, that you help to maintain without even knowing it.